Hi, it's Amy Shaw here. I had chemotherapy this morning, and tomorrow actually will be May 20th, my daughter's birthday, but also it's the day that I was given my diagnosis for stage 3C inflammatory breast cancer 14 years ago. So, yeah, tomorrow's my 14-year survivor anniversary. And then coming up in August, it'll be 11 years since my metastatic recurrence. So, yeah, it's a pretty significant time for me. But what I really want to talk about today, way beyond that, is this idea of the Unexamined Guru Complex. This has been coming up for me a lot lately. As I've stated in several prior videos, I'm a student at the School for Modern Soul Science. And it's something that was mentioned recently in one of the modules, just very briefly, in a certain context. It came up again recently. I was on the treadmill the other day at the gym. I was listening to the newest Matt Kahn video upload on YouTube, and he was also talking about spiritual narcissism. And so really it is in the same vein. I think that spiritual narcissism is a more extreme pathological form of the unexamined guru complex. But I've just had this on my mind. It's coming up and I'm hearing more about it. And I've personally experienced it a few months ago. I had sort of a run-in with an individual, and I believe that this individual's perhaps blindsided by having this unexamined guru complex. And it really is a tricky thing. And the reason I want to talk about it is not so much to like point people out or call people out, or I just think that it's something that we can very easily fall into. Everybody has this sort of blind spot in their ego, and we all have this sort of trickster nature about ourselves, which can convince us of our right position at the expense of truly examining the truth of what our position is. And so it could not be very difficult to fall into the guru complex. And so what this is like I said, it's a precursor to spiritual narcissism. And that's so interesting, right? Because spiritual and narcissism seem like a paradox, like it's two different things. But I think that we've all encountered people that are like that are so they've latched on to this spirituality, and they've become so entrenched in it that they really think that their way is the way, and that they're special children of God above everybody else. And really I think that that's the key of what a sign of the guru complex is. It's when somebody really asserts themselves over another person and assumes that their wisdom and that their knowledge is superior. And they may verbally say, well, I know my way is not the only way, and I know there's other way, but in actuality, how they're treating people and the disrespect that they have towards people, they come off with this sort of air of like, I'm the teacher and you all are just students. In reality, we're all students and we're all teachers equally. And, this person that might appear to you as if they're below you, in actuality might not be below you at all. And so we're all really equal. We're all really on the same playing field in that sense. And so the unexamined guru is the one who asserts him or herself continuously over another person. And I would say in a full-blown spiritual narcissist condition, this is a person who's actually stealing power away from other people and disempowering that other people so that they can gain more and more and more and more power. If you haven't experienced the spiritual narcissist yet, you will. You can't be on a spiritual path and not encounter this type. So you'll experience it, and when you do, I can't really give you too much words of advice, except for just try to continue loving people, even if that has to be from a distance. Just continue loving them for where they're at, and hoping that something comes along in their life to sort of shift that and shine some light on those blind spots within them, and even within ourselves. but to honor it, and to not look at it like, well, I'm more developed, I'm better, I've done more shadow work, I've transmuted. It isn't even a matter of comparing. The moment we start comparing ourselves to others, measuring up, oh, I'm better, or they're better than me, or whatever, comparing ourselves in any way, it really creates this condition of animosity and unhappiness within us. And so I think we just have to let go of a lot of that and accept people exactly for where they are and love them for exactly where they are, even in their pathological conditions, to just love them and respect that they're divine beings here on a path. And you just obviously don't want to give your power over to somebody like that. But we carefully choose our inner circle, and for reasons. Just because, somebody's a certain way and they're not in your inner circle, it's not like you're in or you're out. It's just there's certain people that are in my inner circle that I trust. And these are the people that I know don't have unexamined guru complexes. I know they're not spiritual narcissists. I know they got my back. I know they're going to tell me the truth. If I'm doing something and I have a blind spot, they're going to call it out to me, and they're going to do it in a very loving, gentle way that has my best interest at heart. Those are the people that I trust, and that's it. It's as simple as that. So, if you run across one of these spiritual narcissists, hold your ground, stand in your power, don't give authority, don't give power over to them. But by the same token, it doesn't have to be like oh, I hate you, or you're my enemy, or now we're at war. It doesn't have to be like that either. You can still hold a space of love in your heart, and best intention and wishes for them in your heart. I'm not going to get into specific examples or point fingers at anybody, because it really isn't my position to do that. I think part of being humble and avoiding the spiritual guru complex is to recognize that it's really not for me to say who somebody is or what their faults are. It's not my position to correct anybody or put anybody in their place or point out flaws. Now, it's different if somebody's actually coming to you and asking you for advice, wisdom, insight, and you're able to provide that, then by all means provide it. But even still, that should be provided from a position of humility. To me, I always feel this great, great sense of honor when people seek out my services. And I really make an effort to let them know that I'm very honored that you're trusting me with this. It's a privilege, and it's not something that I take lightly. I don't look at it like, well, of course people are coming to me because I'm, have all this knowledge and wisdom, and I'm so wonderful. The same thing when I go into circle. Each and every time, I really try to connect with the divinity of each individual that's in circle with me. Even though I might not fundamentally agree with some of the things that they're saying or some of their behaviors, or, I can look at them and think that I see flaws, or I see, problems. I see, their psychological construct, and that's hard because that is one of my giftings. I have a really good, keen sense of people and can read people fairly well. But even in that, I can't allow myself to become too haughty and prideful in that, and thinking that, oh, what I see is what I see, because how do you really even know what's a projection, and it's an interesting thing. I've been exploring that a lot lately too. Just this notion of we're all one and there's no separateness. And, in the recent Matt Kahn video, I listened to him say that duality is the illusion, and we're all one, we're all source, and this and that. But then he makes this very clear distinction between the codependent personality and the narcissistic personality. So after he says all this, and then he puts it, bam, into the duality again. And I'm experiencing the same thing coming through other channels, this sort of notion of us being one and not separate, but then something else coming through that's very obvious. It's a perspective of duality, of separation. And so I think that both things are valid. I think that it is a paradox, and we are both one and not distinct. We are both of the same. But by the same token, I think that there is distinction, there is separation, there is sort of ego boundaries between what's me and what's not me. And that can get confusing because a lot of what we see in other people is truly projections in ourselves. When you're calling out somebody and saying, oh, they're this or they're that, or you're using these labels on other people to sort of define who they are, that could be a projection of what you're seeing. And the only reason that you're able to even see that in someone else is because you can see it and see it exists within you. It goes back to that notion that I talked about before in previous videos, how, certain colors, the color red, the color blue, historically didn't even exist. I mean, the history has proven these colors did not exist. It's unfathomable to us. How did we create them? Well, that's a whole different topic, a whole different video. But my point of it is that if it's not inside of you, if you don't have the language and the constructs and the understanding, you're not going to see it. It's as simple as that. So anyone that's calling out anybody else and saying, oh, they're this, they're that, they're this, it's only because the capacity is within them to see that and to recognize it. So how do you know then that it's not a projection, that what you're seeing is clear and that you are as clear a channel as you can be? It's a tricky thing. It requires a great deal of discernment, but not only discernment, I mean, really the essence of it is self-examination. And so, like I was saying at the beginning, the unexamined guru complex, that's the problem. It's unexamined. And it goes unexamined again because we have this trickster within us. We all have it. We have this blind spot within us that doesn't allow us to really take deep, soulful looks at ourselves. And that's the only way, that's where discernment comes, is knowing who I am versus knowing who someone else is. And so that's an ongoing process. I don't think anybody can ever, as long as you're alive on this earth, inhabiting a human body, say, I've arrived, I fully know myself, and that's it, I'm done. It's a continual process of self-examination, self-examination, self-examination. The difference, like, Matt talked about the two types of personalities. The difference, I think, between the two types of personalities is that more codependent person, and he did talk about this. I'm going to use my own words and experience of it, though. The more codependent person is more likely to be that insecure person to constantly say, is that me? Is that me? Is that what they're saying this about me? Is this true? And be constantly self-examining and self-critical, very, very self-critical, bullying self, actually. And where the narcissist is going to actually be the opposite. It's going to be a constant projection of they're this, and the refusal to actually ask, is that me? And go inward. And so you have those two sort of tendencies in people. And I think that definitely, like I said, the unexamined guru complex runs the high risk of becoming the spiritual narcissist. And again, just to give a brief sort of example what this looks like, this is a person that refuses to submit themselves to anybody else, who thinks that what they see in another person is the way and it's right and I'm going to fix this person. Or it might even be more passive than that. It might just be this, well, everybody looks up to me. Look at everything that I've done. I've done this and I've done this and I've done this, and all these things that I've done prove that I've arrived, that I am who I say I am, and that everybody needs to listen to me now because I have all wisdom and all knowledge. And you're wrong, you're bad, you're this, you have some sort of psychological defect or whatever. It's just asserting oneself over another person from a position of authority and power. It truly is a power steal, a power grab, and it's disempowering other people. It's not really seeing the divinity of another person. And this kind of curtails into the discussion that I've recorded before, where I talked about whether one can call oneself a shaman or not. This comes up so much in the shaman circles, but it's just a very frequent thing. And a lot of people have this very entrenched idea that you can't, it's not okay in our culture in this time to call yourself a shaman. At best you can call yourself a shamanic practitioner. Well, as I've shared in previous videos, I don't adhere to this. Only because I have self-examined and I've come to the conclusion that if I was to call myself a shamanic practitioner, it would only be to be compliant with what the culture says is the correct thing, this shamanic culture, or to appear to be humble, to present myself in humility, because to call myself shaman would be arrogant and prideful. But in actuality, for me, when I self-examined and explored this issue for myself, that felt like false humility to me. It felt like false humility. Like I'm trying to project humility out into the world by owning this lesser title of shamanic practitioner, because to call myself actually shaman would be too big, that's too arrogant, it's too prideful. When in my heart, I don't feel that way. I feel like the work that I'm doing, whatever I call myself, is what it is. So I let go of this whole concept of the label, and the label doesn't matter. What matters is what the work that you're doing. What matters really to other people is who they say you are. So I am whoever you say I am, and that's in your eyes. That's the bottom line of it. But by the same token, like, there's other people that I know that can call themselves shaman, and some of my shaman friends are like, oh my God, they call themselves a shaman? And they're shocked by that. They're offended by that, or they feel the need to like go correct the person on it. And to me, in a sense, that's the fundamental problem, is when we get into this idea that we have to go correct somebody else. That's our job, to point out flaws in other people and fix that, or correct them, or point it out to them. It's not for me to say. I take the approach that if you say you're a shaman, then you are who you say that you are. It's not for me to take the speck out of your eye. Now, if you're coming and stepping on my toes, damn straight I'm going to stand up for myself and I'm going to correct you. If you're trying to tell me who I am, damn straight I'm going to, stand up for myself and correct you. I'm going to acknowledge that you have your right and your opinion to see me as you choose to see me, but also recognize that that's a projection, because I know myself and I see myself. So whatever you think you might see in me, it could be a valid thing, but it may not be a valid thing. I'm always somebody who's going to question that. If you say that I'm this or I'm that, or I'm doing this and I'm doing that, I'm going to question it. I'm going to go within myself and say, is this true? I'm going to ask my closest inner circle and say, hey, this was brought across my, a field here. Is this true? Do you think this is true? And I'm going to explore the issue until I come up with, my own ideas about it. And I'm not going to own something that's not mine to own. If I went around in the world and listened to every negative thing people said about me, I would be this big. So it's a very delicate balance between being open to the feedback that you're getting from other people, both positive and negative, and also being in touch with who you are and knowing the truth of yourself, so that you can start discerning between, no, this is me and this is not me, and no, that's you and that's your projection and your deal that you have going on. And so I think there's a certain humility about it too, though, because we can't come at it and say, well, I am okay and you're this, there has to be sort of this respect for the divinity of each person, of self and of other. And so I try to the best of my ability to live in that spot, in that balance, and to be constantly, sort of tuning in and going in and out with my environment. But it's not easy. It's challenging. And I know that I failed it. I'm a human being. We've all failed this. We've all had moments where we had the guru complex. I think that when it goes unexamined and when we don't constantly try to find that balance, then that's when we run into danger, and it potentially becomes a pathological condition, which left sort of untreated does turn into a full-blown spiritual narcissism, and that's dangerous. Spiritual narcissists are dangerous. They do a lot of damage and harm to people and don't even know that they're doing it. They're almost in a completely possessed Wetiko state of being. So in the fully sort of Wetikoized person, this person that's, completely pathological in their spiritual narcissism, this is somebody that's so overtaken by shadow. And through that shadow, that's where the demonic entities, malevolent entities, come into play and work through. And it's a big blind spot. And so people are operating from this and they don't even see it within themselves. It's because they've become unwilling to do the introspection to look, and I think to even say that you could witness your blind spot is almost like a paradox or an oxymoron, I mean, once you see, then it's no longer blind, right? But really what it is, I mean, we all have this blind spot and it doesn't ever really leave us. So it's a continual process of introspection and the alchemical work, to clear and to remove and to know thyself and to self-actualize. But I think that we can have moments where we glimpse it. We've all had these moments where we see ourselves for the first time in a certain way or a certain thing within ourselves for the first time, and at that moment, that blind spot or that shadow aspect is brought into the light. And so we're constantly clearing out the shadow, bringing in more light, more light, more light. We're not going to achieve that 100% fully in this life. It's just, this is the human experience. This is what we're here to do, is continually transmute. But we can have, through introspection, these glimpses and see that blind spot. And it's just important that we're constantly, continually doing that. We should be spending more time doing that than we are out there trying to point out to other people, their flaws or their psychological hangups or, their bad behaviors or whatever else. We should just be spending much more time doing that, which is one of the reasons why, I hear people say that, oh, healers or shamans shouldn't get paid. It should be a free gift. Well, I mean, my services are free, but my time isn't. And the thing of it is that there's so much back end that goes into being this. It's a constant work. I'm never not working. And even if I'm not directly working for somebody else on their behalf, I'm working on myself constantly, trying to keep that balance. And it's a lot of work. It's really a lot of work. It's not as easy as people think. I think that that's because I'm coming at it. I hope I am. I'm trying to from a place of humility. I'm not saying like, here I am, I've arrived, here's what I am, I'm awesome, now everybody come to me. To me, that would be the Unexamined Guru Complex. And I don't think that that's me on any level. I'm much more authentic than that. And I share my struggles and I have them. And I'm continuing to try to transmute stuff, and I'm going to continue doing this till the day I die, which is another reason why I sort of do not agree with this concept of not calling oneself shaman, because I know there's a lot of people that are older, in their 50s and their 60s, and they're still reluctant to call themselves shaman because they don't feel that they've arrived yet. The fundamental problem with that is you're never going to arrive. And shaman really is an act of service. That's all it is. The title means nothing to me. It's more my behavior and what I'm doing. So if I sit around just saying, well, I don't feel ready yet, I have too much stuff I'm still trying to transmute and clear, and I have this trickster and I have this blind spot, if I keep telling myself that, I'm never going to be of service because I'm never going to arrive. This is part of the process. It's a dual path in a sense of me continuing to transmute and work and grow and change and learn and be, open and at the same time, branching out and being of service to other people to really walk alongside them in their path. That really is what, to me, shamanism is. It's not so much about fixing anybody or pointing out to anybody, what their problems are. They already know what their problems are. That's why they're coming to me. So it's really more kind of like fine-tuning for them, how to walk the path in such a way that honors their path, that honors their divinity, that honors the reasons that they've incarnated into this life. So I hope that inspires you and really kind of sets you in this place of being okay with self and knowing that, we don't really have to compare ourselves to anybody. We don't have to say, either we're better or worse than or ahead of or below or behind or any of that. We're all, in that sense, we all really are one. We all really are sort of trying to achieve the same ultimate thing, but just in different expressions. Beautiful, glorious, creative, diverse expressions. If you have any questions about it, comments, ideas, as always, leave them. under the video, or send me a message privately, either through email, on Facebook, or other places that you can find me. All right, I love you guys, and have a great day.